The case of David Gracious West is not just a crime story. It is a descent into something far more disturbing. In the shadows of everyday life across Nigeria, a predator moved quietly, leaving behind a trail of fear, confusion, and death. What first started as isolated incidents soon revealed a chilling pattern, one that authorities could no longer ignore. Sometimes, the most dangerous monsters don't lurk in the dark. They walk among us, unseen, until it is far too late. Welcome back to ABC Sinister Files. And today, I'll be talking about a Nigerian case. Yes, you heard me right, a Nigerian case. And that is the case of David Gracious West. Our story today takes us to Porthacourt, folks. Once known as the Garden City, it is a place of contrast. Beneath its bustling streets and industrial power lies a history shaped by oil, rapid growth, and quiet tension. It is a city that fuels a nation, yet carries stories people never hear. And it is here that we have our major character of today's story, David Gracious West. He was born in the fishing town of Buguma, Rivers State in 1980. He reportedly had a tough childhood. He is said to be an only son in a polygamous family, but lived apart with his mother as he was cut off from the rest. He would later claim his mother was poisoned, and as the only son of his father, much was expected from him, but he couldn't meet up. He was reportedly a member of the Greenlanders. I don't want to delve into that, and I guess you all know why. With femicide being one of the most common cases in Nigeria, David West then decided to take advantage of that and become Nigeria's first known internet-age serial killer, our very own Ted Bundy. In June of 2019, his first victim was discovered in a small hotel room in Porthacourt. While one of the workers of the hotel was busy doing general's duty, something gruesome was discovered. After he ignored multiple times with no answer, he then cautiously entered, and after switching the lights on, the body of a young woman was discovered. Tragically, after the arrival of paramedics, she was pronounced dead, with her ankles and wrists tied with bindings from the hotel pillowcases. Officers concluded that it was an intentional homicide through asphyxiation, making the middle-aged girl his first victim. Just 3 days later, another body was discovered. The body was found in the same condition the first one was, raising suspicion Porthacourt now has a serial killer on the loose. With no traces left behind by David, officers had no way forward to go ahead with their investigation other than the pattern and style David had used in killing his first and second victims. After looking into the background of both women, officers will realize they were both sex workers. Just a few days later, a shocking discovery was made by the Rivers State Police. A third body had been found in yet another hotel room. It was starting to become a pattern, and the people of Porthacourt were starting to panic. 3 deaths in just the space of 1 week. But the question is, who exactly was responsible? What was the motive? And will he strike again? With everyone being aware of the killer, with no clue or major breakthrough, residents decided to name him the Porthacourt Strangler. Out of desperation to stop the killings, police took aggressive measures, warning the Nigeria Hotel Association that any hotel linked to another killing would be shut down. But even with the aggressive measure put in place, it had no effect on David, as 3 more bodies were discovered, raising his total number of victims to 6. And with this, the city's hotel industry collapsed under the weight of panic, with bookings falling and suspicion spread everywhere. Public outrage erupted. Large emotional protests filled the streets, led in part by women organizations, demanding urgent action from the authorities.
According to the Rivers State Police Command, the serial killer initiates contact with his victim through encrypted messaging apps and eventually gets their trust through his charms and money.
Protesters accused the police of inaction, as the hunt for the killer was being taken for granted, especially because many of his victims were sex workers. And by September, things had escalated. 3 more women were found murdered in hotel rooms across the city of Porthacourt. Protesters were met with swift and aggressive retaliation. Managers and receptionists were charged and arrested for alleged negligence. The Porthacourt Strangler was no longer slowing down. He was becoming more aggressive, more active, and unpredictable. And with each day passing by, public fear reached the breaking point no one could control. However, just as the situation reached its peak, the first and real major breakthrough finally appeared, and it didn't come from the police, but instead, it came through an encounter between a survivor and a hotel staff member. On September 18, 2019, what seemed like an ordinary Wednesday night quietly changed the course of the investigation. At a hotel in one of the local governments of Porthacourt, the manager had a faint scream coming from a room down the hall. Alert to the danger in the city, he rushed toward it and stopped at a single door. And inside, after forcing his way in, he met a man in the room, and the woman screaming from the bathroom, with the TV background playing to cause distraction. And with David aware of the situation, he quickly bolted and ran into the dead of the night. The woman claimed she had never met him before, but he promised to pay her good money if she agreed to stay with him for the night. At first, everything seemed normal. Food, conversation. But later, she noticed something strange. While reaching for the remote, her hand touched something cold, only for her to discover it was a knife hidden beneath the pillow. Realizing she was in danger, she stayed calm, locked herself in the bathroom and opened the windows. Then she started screaming. It was her scream that alerted the hotel manager. She became the first known victim to ever escape David. Although, officers now have a person of interest. But the truth is that David was still active and on the run. But the fact that they have his details and a CCTV footage of him checking into a hotel with his survivor, they at least have something to work with. Hotels across the city were ordered to review their old guest records in a desperate attempt to track his movement. Findings showed he had moved from one hotel to another, often staying just one night, and in many cases, accompanied by different women. But while not every night ended in murder, many were linked to theft and assault. With their intense search, their efforts finally paid off. After a bus going out of the city was stopped and all passengers asked to exit, it was there that they found David. And his identification was surprisingly easy, as the monster was still wearing the same clothes seen in the surveillance footage. He was immediately arrested. The authorities finally had their man in custody, and it didn't even take long for David himself to crack. And here is his confession video.
Most of how much I would pay her. So after that, we left the club to the hotel.
What is the name of the hotel? Can you remember the name of the hotel?
Back the hotel. It's at Rumokoro, that's South.
Okay, South. Rumokoro.
No, Rupoko.
Rupoko, okay. Yes, so what happened when you go
So
there?
after that, we went to the hotel.
Yes.
I paid for the place. So they took her to the home. So after they took her home, I said, okay, let me look for you to arrange for food that she will eat myself. So they prepared food and we ate. So after that, we slept till when the day broke by around that 5:30. Yes, 5:30 to let's say 4 or 5:30. So I brought out a knife. She didn't actually know that there was a knife there. So I brought out a knife. That threatened her and let her don't shout. Then she shouted and we used the knife on her. So without fear, she couldn't shout. And by then the television, the volume was
Loud.
Yes, loud. So she kept quiet, and after that, I used the wrapper to tie her heads from the back, then tie her legs.
Which rapper?
Pillowcase.
Okay.
After he had confessed to his monstrous acts, he would then go ahead to explain to officers how he had usually targeted sex workers as they were easier to lure by promising them a huge amount of money. And in some cases, not every night ended in murder, but some, he would get their bank information and then disappear with their ATMs after he must have threatened them with a knife. And following his confession at the station, the police quickly informed the public, and on the 19th of September 2019, he was publicly paraded throughout the city of Porthacourt while he was handcuffed and shackled, where he repeated his statements in public, sobbing through tears. And here's the clip.
After making love, we sleep for some time. So after sleeping, after some time, the girl, I will wake the girl up. But to be unknown to her, when I now use the knife.
Then after that one, you told us that you used to ask her about the PIN number of her ATM.
Yes.
How many girls within Porthacourt you have killed? How many?
5. I know the hotels.
You know all the hotels?
The biggest shock of the case is David's body count. While the Rivers State Police had linked him to 9 murders in Porthacourt, he had no idea of an additional 6 across Nigeria, bringing the total number of his victims to 15. Although David's confession had been formally recorded, he would then change his stance after obtaining legal representation. He began to deny having any involvement in the murders, and less than a month later, on October 9, 2019, his trial officially began. Those in attendance at his trial described David as short-tempered and aggressive, often interrupting the judge despite having legal representation and being repeatedly advised to remain silent. He frequently attempted to defend himself. And with the surveillance footage, his earlier confession, and pieces of evidence submitted against him, his conviction looked increasingly strong. Although he pleaded guilty to 9 murder charges, he maintained a plea of not guilty to the attempted murder of the survivor who escaped him.
Nearly a year after proceedings began, David was found guilty of 9 counts of murder,
He was also convicted in connection with the attempted murder of the woman who narrowly survived, and as a result, he was sentenced to death by hanging. And why the death penalty barely takes effect in Nigeria? The severity of his crimes led many to view and believe his sentence as justified. They harsh but freaking consequences for the actions of a man responsible for the death of at least 9, possibly as many as 15 victims. And to this day, the exact number of women David killed remains uncertain. What is certain, however, is that these women are gone, many of them largely forgotten, with so little of their stories told. Tragically, for several of the victims, no one came forward to claim their bodies from the morgue. In fact, just a family member attended during the trial, and after the first day, he never came again. What we do know are their names: Maureen Ewuru, Dorcas Francis, Blessing Effiong, Rose Samuel, Kelechi Onuwa, Patience Amo, Linda Waripa, Jennifer Nwokocha, and Anthony Ibe. They were all more than victims, more than headlines. Though there appeared to be a degree of bias in how their cases were perceived, largely because they were sex workers. But it is important to remember that this was only a part of who they were. Each of them had a life beyond that label, with their own personalities, dreams, and aspirations. And to this day, David remains on death row, and whether his sentence will be carried out remains uncertain. But one thing is certain: he will forever remain behind bars and will never be able to prey on any woman across Nigeria again. And this is where our story ends for today. Not with David, but with the lives that were lost and memories that deserve to be preserved. And until I see you again in my next video, remember to take good care of yourself. Goodbye.